talk through options here. It is 5 after 6, so you've got 25 minutes before we need to be upstairs. We've got 3 things that are on the agenda. One is for you all to raise some questions and issues on the budget.
Yes, sir.
One is Diggstown follow up to a presentation you got in July from Mr. Konak. Frankly, the action is I'm going to sign a support letter for what they're doing out there. I just want to make sure you all are comfortable with what's happening. And then we've got George Homewood doing a piece on Park Place. I would tell you, I think you've got a pretty good handle on Park Place. We could push Park Place off. You could, frankly, we could run around and do some 2-on-2 kind of stuff on Diggstown. I think we can do. Also think we can do that in about 10 minutes. So my thought would be, take 15 minutes and raise your budget issues, and then take 10 and knock out Konak.
Can you do that in 15 minutes?
Well, it may take longer.
Well, we got 2 more work sessions, but yeah, great question.
So let me tell you what
All right.
Mr. Riddick, what the plan is for us to have at least 3 work sessions on the budget. This first work session will be for us to raise questions about the manager's proposed budget. And the next work session, the second work session, the manager and staff will bring back answers to the questions. And the third and final work session, we will reconcile the budget. So, Mr. Manager, that's how I would like to proceed on our work session, unless there are any objections. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, we have on here that the real estate tax rate public hearing is 6:30 to 7. If we don't start at 6:30, and is there like anybody signed up for it?
What I was going to suggest is that if we don't have anybody to sign up, Sheila's going to come down about 2 minutes before and let us know, and the mayor and the city attorney and I could go up, call the meeting to order, adjourn it, and then come back down here.
Okay.
And keep working.
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Or could you do that at 6:55 before the other meeting? Do you have to do it at 6:30?
Since it's announced at
Advertised at
6:30, we should have,
Maybe the meeting at to start on time. I don't- Okay, never mind.
we could go up at.
We announce our meetings at 7 o'clock, and sometimes Kenny doesn't start until 7:02.
We could go up at
I'll wait
6:30,
for you, Tommy. I'll wait for you.
and if somebody signed up, ask if they can stay, continue it to 6:55.
So let's talk a little bit about the budget. So Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir.
I want to talk a little bit about public education in the budget. We had our public hearing last week on public education, and it appeared from some of the conversation that a lot of the school teachers believe that in the school board's proposed budget, or a budget they passed, that there was a teacher's pay increase, or there was, from the conversations of the speakers. However, after careful examination of the school board's budget, there is no pay increase for teachers. Am I correct?
That's our understanding. Yes, sir.
I think majority of us at this table believe that teachers, and especially classroom teachers, deserve some type of pay increase or some type of bonus. I was hoping that we would have, the school improvement plan, but I believe that probably by October, if we work with the school board, that we will get the school improvement plan that will include school zones, facility maintenance, education programs, career technical education, ultimately a school funding formula, talk about access capacity and repurposing some buildings and taking some buildings offline, and of course teacher pay. But that probably won't happen until October as we work with MPS on the school improvement plan. Is that your understanding?
That's what we're hearing. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Manager, I would like to make a proposal to amend the budget to include a teacher's bonus, as we did for sheriff deputies, and as we also did in the past for retirees. And this bonus will model the teacher salary scale, one-time bonus to focus on classroom teachers. We could look at the 2,710 classroom teachers that's defined in the Siegel Waters comp plan. This one-time bonus is structured on the same step scale that's used in the teacher salary scale, where the first 3 steps increases are 0.5%, the next 8 steps increases are 2%, and the last 14 step increases are 3%. This may cost a few $1 million, but I ask for you to include this in your budget. One-time bonuses until we can work with Norfolk Public Schools on the school improvement plan to look at the predetermined funding formula and for this comprehensive school improvement plan that will include other action items.
Okay, we can work that up.
And so we're talking about 2,710 employees, Mr. Manager.
Understand.
And some bonuses will be as low as maybe a couple $100, and some bonuses will be probably over $1,400.
We will run all the math for you, which we've got some preliminary thoughts, and bring that back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, for your consideration. Mrs. Graves.
Okay, I have 2 questions. One is this just teachers that we're bonusing? And are we forgetting about the support staff as well as janitors and bus drivers and
So with this,
principals that make enough money? No, I'm kidding. But
So-
are we, what are we doing here?
so
And-
Mrs. Graves, the school board sent over a budget, did not include any of that.
I know.
And in the budget that was presented to us by the manager, we gave additional dollars to sheriff deputies. We did some things for our first responders, our police. We worked with the FOP, with Mike Goldsmith and I. We worked with the FOP and the union. We did some increases for our sanitation workers. We even had the retirees to agree to a study about retirement. But we did not have that same relationship or same opportunity to work with NPS. However, I think teachers, classroom teachers, deserve a bonus. And in October of this year, those other employees that you mentioned should be included in a school improvement plan that we hope to work with NPS and have that plan by October of 2017, so that it will have an impact on our budget that starts July 1st of 2018 and ends June 30th of 2019.
And I understand what you're saying because, no disrespect, but I sat through those presentations when we were talking about the sheriffs and all those people and, doing their steps and whatnot with Marcus and Sabrina. But, and that was a lot of conversation and a lot of study and a lot of looking at what was going into creating those steps as well as what the cost would be. And so when you say that we have a bonus of $100 and some as much as $1,400, and we haven't really had conversation about it, and the school board, one of the things that I think I've consistently said is that it annoys me when we have these budget hearings and the school teachers have to come before the council and beg the council for a raise because the school board did not see fit to put a raise in their budget. And I just wonder if those people went to the school board's public hearing and begged, if you will, which they shouldn't have to do, but begged the school board for money for raises for the teachers. When Melinda Boone was here and she talked about the $10 million that they wanted extra, it didn't include raises. So I want to give, I'm not opposed to giving teachers raises at all or any of the other staff, but I just think it requires more thought, and I think that it requires working with the school board and making sure that, are we giving them this in lieu of $10 million? Or what are we doing with the $10 million ask that they've asked for? Are we giving them $10 million plus?
The $10 million did not make it in the manager's proposed budget. Some of the teachers believed that they were getting a pay raise. You may recall at the public hearing last week,
That was a state raise, wasn't it?
at the public hearing last week, some of the comments that were directed towards us talked about steps and pay raises. And so what's in the school board's past budget is language. And the language reads something like this. $5 billion money for the implementation of phasing in the recommendation of the comp study. Now, I tried to,
Which is more money for teachers.
not necessarily,
Okay.
because we asked the direct question, is this a raise for teachers? And the answer was no.
The comp study won't show a raise.
So that's directly from the school board.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
Okay. Great. Do you mind if I get teacher again?
We
You-
would-
everybody knows
we would mind.
during this time, I
I
get
mean-
teacher. So I'm gonna get, I wanna share data with you guys. So when I was elected in 2010, it was well known that I worked for Norfolk Public Schools. In fact, my opponent used that against me, and everybody knew. And so, since I've been on council, I have been an advocate for the school system. And anytime there's been a discussion about raises for principals or assistant, I've stayed out of that. I always care about the students and the teachers first. What I'm giving you is something that I've asked from Marcus Jones and Sabrina for 7 years. And I was able to Google and find it finally. I even asked Doug for it, and I don't know if his folks are working on it. And I know that some people got wind that I was going to talk today, and it was funny that some of the presentations that were shared with us are trying to address some of my ideas on dealing with this. So what I wanted to give you is this chart right here, which is exactly where our budget folks get their numbers from to run our budget book. So those little pretty graphs and charts that are in our budget book, they pull those numbers directly from the state superintendent's report. And it compares all of the localities, counties, towns, cities, everybody. I wanted to break it down for you just to help educate everybody about this. And it's not to be mean, and I appreciate the mayor's willingness to look for more money for the schools. But I want you to see how bad it really is, particularly with local funding. So there's one chart, one graph that's always on the budget book that explains that we spend $11,417 per pupil. That is, we're number one. And every year I've been on council, Paul Frame used to say that out loud. We spend more per pupil. We spend, Marcus Jones, we spend more, Sabrina would say it. But the devil's in the details. And if you look at this and you look to the right, you'll see when you just take local and state funds, we drop to 5th. And then when you look at just local funds, we're 4th. This is comparing to the 7 cities. And then if you look at federal funds, you'll see that we're number 1 on there. We get more federal funds than any other locality, actually at a significant amount per pupil. The part that's over on the right side is, on the bottom, is percent of local funds contributed. So I didn't look at our overall budget. I'm just looking at school funds and compared how much we contribute, how much local funds are contributed in the overall school budget. And you'll see that we're 33.8% is local funds. And you can compare that to the rest of the localities. So we fall to number 6, just above Portsmouth, which is pretty pitiful, people, if we're just above Portsmouth on that. And you can see that Virginia Beach is at 48.7% of their local funds. I threw Richmond on there because in the past, we've always been compared to Richmond. And you will see that Richmond is significant when it comes to how much they spend in their local dollars towards education at $6,187. So I'm telling you all this because I want you to understand that it does look on the surface that we do fund a lot more, but the federal funding, which I gave you an attachment that I requested from the school board's budget office about how that federal funds are spent. And I hope that everybody understands that federal funds have strings attached to them and you can only spend them in certain areas. So our school system has less flexibility on how they can spend their funds because they are told that you have to spend this on special education teachers or child nutrition or on interventionists for Title I. And the other sad reality is everybody probably knows that Donald Trump has recommended a budget that basically eliminates all federal funding from education. If that were to happen, our school system could lose up to $55 million of that. So I've heard concerns too about the school system's ADM going down. So what I did is I just in my head and did some math and worked this out. I just said let's lower it down to the 28,000 so that they predicted and compare that to local funding for Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. So even taking those kids out, if Norfolk would fund at the same rate locally that Virginia Beach does, we would have to put $45 million more in our budget to meet what Virginia Beach does. If we were to do what Chesapeake does, it would be $20 million. And that's taking the ADM out. That's how much further behind we are locally. And you can look and see that Virginia Beach and Chesapeake do get less federal dollars. But that should also tell you what we're dealing with in Norfolk is higher poverty, more special ed, and we do get some impact aid from this. So all these years that Marcus and Sabrina and Paul Frame would sit in front of everybody and tell us that we spend more per pupil, you have to look at the individual numbers. There is more flexibility with how you can spend your local funds, which is why Virginia Beach and Chesapeake and some of the other localities are able to continuously offer 2% raises to their teachers every year. And Norfolk cannot, because we don't have the extra funds unless it comes directly from this council in order to be able to do that. So we promised last year as a council, and I'm wrapping up, Kenny, we promised last year as a council that we were going to do some type of revenue sharing. We said that, and what we did is we kicked the can down the road again, and we said we're not going to do it this year, we want to wait. And I understand the need for accountability with the school system, but folks, there is more accountability with that school system, particularly with the state, than you'll ever see. And they have presented plans to us, they've done their comprehensive plans, and we used to tell them to stop doing that at the presentations because we kept on hearing the same thing over and over. And you do have a new superintendent and school board that need time to maybe do it their way. But the fact is the accountability is already there because the state's telling them what they need to do. So what I'm asking for, and it's bold, it's about this council being bold. We had $18 million in revenue, and we took all of that $18 million extra in our budget, and we put it towards our other two priorities, public safety and housing. But we did not give one dime of that to education. We said those are our priorities, but we continuously say that education is our priority, and we had to eat a little bit of that at the public hearing with people saying, you always run and say schools are number one, but you never act on it. So my bold request is going back to 2003, and I wasn't on council, only a few of you were here, and there was a vote to increase taxes to have the public amenities fund. But there is no ordinance that says that it has to go to certain things. That is a council decision. And I asked that years ago when we were voting on the main, and one of the reasons why I voted against it is because I felt that we could take that money and shift it. And in order for this school system to get whole and to do that pay and comp implementation so they can get there, I'm asking for $6 million to come out of the public amenities fund. There's $8 million that's there, and I know the numbers changed overnight after maybe somebody got wind that I was going after it, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, there's still money in that account left over that we could spend, and it's up to us as a council to be bold and say, right now, if education's our priority, then we need to take this cash that's coming in, this tax, and we need to spend it on one of our priorities. We've built up downtown, we've spent that money there, so now it's time to, since 2003 we've done that, let's shift it, and later on, if we need to look for funds to fix scope and do things, then we need to look at other things and collapse that money. But education has to be the priority. I've been on this council, and for a long time, those kids who live in Super Ward 7 have been treated very disrespectfully with our budget. And you now have a council, and I'm looking at those who represent Super Ward 7, you have a council that is the most diverse it's ever been and respects that, and there is an opportunity here to help those families that are hurting, and that all of our unaccredited schools are in Super Ward 7. And we are not doing anything to help with that other than to say, kick the can down the road again. Those are the schools that are losing all of their quality teachers, if they even get them, if they can fill it, because of the issues that we're having. So we have to sit here, we have to be bold and say, It's time to shift our priorities, even if it's just for 2 years, and give the school system the 2 years to come back with a plan. Because Martin, you can close Willoughby if you want to, but you're only going to get a one-time savings of probably about $600,000 when you do that. So you could close you have to close like 10 schools in order to get that money back. But we owe it to the kids. At the end of the day, we owe it to those kids to do something for them so that we can start saving this. Because if not, you're going to see another bad report with our schools, because they cannot handle this cuts and the continuous cuts anymore, and it will get even worse if the federal funding goes away.
So I think that the school board and the council will have the school improvement plan October. So we will work with the school to have the plan in October, so it should not take 2 years. And the plan will include not only pay and comp and career technical education, facility maintenance and excess capacity, repurposing some schools, closing some schools or taking some schools offline. As far as shifting money from the Public Amenities Fund, I think we need to look at the mission of the fund and what we are faced with today with Chrysler Hall and Scope. Those facilities are tired, and those facilities will need some repairs. So the core service of the fund was to increase business to the city, especially tourism and conventions and visitors to our city, and to reduce the amount of our debt when financing bonds on these future projects. So when we start looking at, when I was in the legislature, we used to raid VRS, and we would get it from the teachers and get it from state employees about the state raiding VRS or shifting money from VRS. But I look forward to, Tommy, this comprehensive study led by Dr. Boone, and let's address pay and comp, and let's address all of these issues. But let's take care of the teachers in this budget, and then let's find that long-term solution. And I'm with you.
And just a quick response. The best public amenity is your kids in the future. Your best economic development are your schools. And the point of that public amenities too is to retain people so that when they come and visit, they say they want to live in Norfolk. Her budget is $10 million, and $3 million of that is a shortfall because we gave one-time spending that we didn't do this time. So if we don't even give the $3 million, she has to go back. The school board has to go back and make additional cuts. So those counselors that spoke and those music teachers and art teachers that were cut, they were cut before the $10 million was even mentioned. So the $3 extra million will mean more cuts on that. And then there was the $7 million, which $5 of that was the pay and comp. And then $1 million was the ISA and the 1.5 and the gifted teachers. But even just before that, the $3 million, we can say, let's give $2.4 million or whatever to the school system, but there's still going to be even more cuts if we don't make whole the $3 million that we gave last year. And in addition to the CIP, Doug, we used to give $3 million every year I've been on council, and for some reason we're only giving $2 million this year. Last year I know we gave $4 million, but that's because we added $1 million in to help them, but it seems like we took that away. And then I know we say that we handle debt services on buses, but I've been told that we sent them a bill for $190,000 to pay for the debt on buses. Sabrina sent that last year. So I think that there are some disconnects there, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that's your economic development. This is a public amenity. It's your best public amenity probably out there, not fixing Chrysler Hall and Scope. Let's get some private donors to donate. If they like all those performances at Chrysler, maybe we need to raise a fund to help pay for that. All right, I'll stop taking up some time.
I agree with Tommy, and we've had this conversation year after year on what we need to do with the schools. And a lot of time, when I first came on council, you ask questions, and the answer would be, well, it's at the will of the council. That was the response from the staff, is at the will of the council. So I don't know that the Public Amenities Fund is like one of those new Gatsby items that we, once you designate it, it can only be for that purpose, but if it doesn't fall into Gadsby, then it falls into the will of the council. So if it is the will of the council to, and we have the money, then, you know, at some point, we are gonna have to, I mean, at some point, cutting is not gonna be enough. And money doesn't solve everything, but it does take money to fix things. And we're gonna have to put some money into the schools, into their budget to give them what they need in order to do. So if it's not in Gatsby, then we can't move it.
So,
Is
Angela,
that the will of the council?
I think that there is nothing prohibiting, there's no ordinance prohibiting the council from shifting or rating the Public Amenities Fund. But remember, when the increase that was levied on the meals tax and the lodging tax was to benefit hotels and conventions and our public cultural facilities. So it's the spirit. What was the intent? Why was the tax imposed in the first place? You don't want to start going down that line. We should properly fund public education the right way and not these raids of various funds, because you start with raiding the Public Amenities Fund. Next, you'll be looking at other funds, parking and risk management, and you just start going. We should not go down this line. We should fund public education based on the study that's going to start and should be concluded by October. We should have a long view, a broader view on our needs and how to properly fund education for years to come. In addition to that, we should have a school funding formula that's predetermined. And as we grow as a city, so should our appropriations to public education. All right? All right. Yes, Ms. Johnson. Right.
I have
Somebody
great
needs to call,
concerns
yeah.
as far as the Norfolk Public Schools is concerned. Ward 7, which includes 3 and 4, we're taking a beating, a serious beating. A beating to a point that is their thought process that we will catch up. No, been there, done that. As an instructional specialist and as a classroom teacher, which term I don't like to use, on the west side of town. If you were to ask me what is the learning gap between one side of town to the next side of town, when I was an instructional specialist, it was 7 years. Some of the terminology that I use, some of the funding, budget that I was taught as a classroom teacher and a future administration, to discuss that coming to Super Ward 7 was not even suggested, or was it known as far as what I was talking about when it comes down to individual schools' budget or the budget as a whole. So Super Ward 7 is way behind, and we have to get to work and improve on it. With that said, I am deeply concerned that the time was not spent between Norfolk Public Schools and the city council. However, the process needed to take for us to make this decision dealing with the Norfolk Public Schools. It's, to me, being 3 years on council, it's like last minute. It is always last minute. We said both parties can sit down and we can get this right. We have failed to do that for the last 3 years. I am concerned that in the Norfolk Public Schools budget that raises weren't included. And so our constituents and our citizens come to us when it comes down to teachers' raises. And so I'm saying to them, have you gone to Norfolk Public Schools to discuss, so we're all on one accord, what the projected figures are, what our expectations are, how to move our schools forward? If it is at the will of the council, and I hear that a lot now, that it is at the will of the council, and my word is to be bold, to dare, to encourage, and step outside of the boundaries. We're gonna have to fix this somehow. Booker T. Washington High School should never have gotten into the condition that it is in at this point. This back and forth about it's Norfolk Public Schools' responsibility, that it's the city council's responsibility. It is our school. It belongs to the entire city. It belongs to all of us here sitting at this table. And now we're prepared to patch it again. If we can put money in the budget for other schools, high schools, then money should be put in the budget across the board for all high schools. Again, it sits in Super Ward 7, where we're taking a beating. So I'm no longer at the point where I don't care whose responsibility it is to fix our school. We have to be the leader into going forward with making things better for our children. And we really have, Mr. Smeagol, you mentioned, as an instructional specialist, I had my budget. There are many federal fundings that the school system receives, and it does have attachment. There are line items that we cannot move because of the amount of federal funding that we accept. We can't move line items. It has to stay where it is. So with that itself, it says we're living in constraints within the school system, within individual schools, and especially to Title I. We also must consider that we are one. We have to continue to think that we are one. So if Super Ward 7 does not progress, we all fail. The entire system fails. The entire city fails. And this city council right here has the mindset to think that way, that we are one. We have to, there are many issues that we have to address as far as Norfolk Public Schools is concerned. I don't know where to begin, but I do know that there are certain concerns that we immediately have to address. The children are our top priority. And I encourage Norfolk Public Schools leaders to think of it as the children and not personalities. And there is an elephant in the room, so let me put it on the table. The elephant in the room is this title thing. Who's in charge of what and who cannot cross that line? I hear that there are certain things that City Council can't tell Norfolk Public Schools to do, and Norfolk Public Schools can't tell the City Council. I really don't care. I want the education for our children to be fixed at any cost. It is about our children. And if we don't get to work, our children will fail. The entire city of Norfolk will fail. And Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I do know that you are prepared to get to work and roll up your sleeves, as well as all of us sitting here at this table, to see how we can make things better for Norfolk Public Schools and work out the logistics and the formulas that we're gonna come up with. And now we're going into the end of a fiscal year, and we're talking about the fall, which means that we're going into another school year that we have not addressed the concerns of Norfolk Public Schools.
All right, yes, Andrea.
So the question that I have, Mayor, you proposed an option where we would provide one-time bonuses for teachers at percentages. But my question is, I didn't realize that we had the opportunity to propose specific funding. It's my understanding that we had a dollar amount, and that dollar amount was given to the school board, and the school board could then determine whether or not they wanted to add more PE teachers and counselors and arts teachers or not. Or they could choose with that money to provide bonuses to the administration or not.
Sure.
But we don't have that ability. I would like and was very happy that it was in the budget, and I'm gonna bring this up. $150,000 to put GPS on our buses that covered 19,000 kids, so we know that they're safe and on time. But I can't say that because I don't have a say on what happens in the school board budget. So I'm trying to figure that one out. Why can't we talk together?
Yes, so you do have a say, and we appropriate. The school board sent over their budget. They passed the budget. However, we are tasked with funding. They can propose, but we dispose. So we can do these one-time bonuses, and it's not going to be with any tax increases. It's not going to be with rating other funds. We have the capacity to take care of our classroom teachers, and at the same time, develop the plan that maybe that Councilwoman Johnson talked about, a long-term plan where there is ultimately a school funding formula that grows with our growth. Money doesn't solve everything. We have to have some attachments and some other items discussed, and we're prepared to do that. I mean, we have the access capacity, repurposing some of the buildings, taking some of the buildings offline, and teachers pay, the CTE school, facility maintenance, zoning. So there are a lot of issues that we need to roll our sleeves up and work with MPS, and let's put children first. But you can't do it on the fly. You just can't do it on the fly. And I'm not willing to just do something on the fly. I would like to have the comprehensive view, the long view. And I think that's what we're all saying, but saying it in different ways.
But these bonuses to me appear to be on the fly. And I'm very sorry,
Well,
but I don't know where we've had this conversation where we're doing this and, I get the teachers and I get the steps. And I mean, we did a lot of conversation. We had a lot of people lobbying us from the sheriffs and the public safety and all of that. And we had presentations about it and we understood it. But this bonus, and again, my mom was a school teacher, and the teachers are very, very important to lives of children. But I don't feel like this bonus I mean, again, the vast range, I'm not comfortable with because I don't know where it's going and to who and what, and that it just comes up.
It follows the steps. It follows the step process salary scale that's already put in place, that's identified by Siegel Waters Consulting in their own plan. So we're just taking.
It just seems to me like it's out of the blue, and that's where that's where I am on it. It seems to me like it's out of the blue.
So Angela, it's trying to respond to teachers who had gotten their steps. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we heard from even Tommy that he has been pretty much stuck. And a lot of teachers and a lot of school board personnel are stuck. And so looking at the teachers with experience from 0 to 3 years, from 4 years to 11 years, from 12 years plus, just follow this bonus follows the step. But again, it's not the cure. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's not the cure.
And
One
when
time.
we did the comp study for the others, we did not look at just one time, we looked at long range.
Yeah.
And this is one time, it's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, and
Yeah, so the long view again is the study, it's the comprehensive study to address the lack of resources, some of the access capacity, and the list goes on. So hopefully, we will work with the MPS for the school improvement plan. So there are others may, want to chime in. Dr. Wilbur?
So just as Tommy has trouble taking his principal hat off, I have trouble taking my school board hat off. There are so many mixed feelings that I have about this. First, my biggest disappointment is that the success we had when I was on school board was closing the achievement gap. And we were able to do it, very frankly, without a large influx of money. We were able to absolutely break exactly what Mamie and Tommy is talking about, so that there wasn't the disparity between Ward 6 and Ward 7. I'm a little frustrated that I find this $10 million gap not particularly directed, or at least not identified how that actually works toward closing that gap. So I have some frustrations with that. But I will also say, and I love our mayor, but I absolutely feel that our role is not to designate money. And if we've got a pot of money that we could spend on bonuses, or very frankly spend on GPSs, that's not our call. And that we give the school board the money and they figure out how that's best, because they know, and we've charged them that, as has the citizens, with knowing how best to further the education. I would agree with Tommy. I think it's time to be bold. And there's absolutely no question that so goes the school, so goes the city. We just can't ignore that. And I don't care what you campaign on. It doesn't matter about campaigns. This is absolutely what is the most important thing. Am I totally convinced money does it? No, not really. I recognize school salaries are important, teacher salaries. I would frankly tell you, Tommy, that some of the arguments about federal funds, let's say Trump's thing doesn't happen, if monies are designated in one direction, that still takes away then the responsibilities that the school system has for that direction. So, you still can make the argument that you've got this much money at the end of the day that you're spending per student. And that's important. That being said, I also think we had a promise when whoever it was, probably Mr. Riddick, made the increase in the hotel and the food taxes. I think we had a promise. I've said it before, I'd go for a tax increase. I think we have done very well with not raising our taxes, and we had very little opposition, if any, toward increasing to build school buildings. My personal thought then, and it continues now, that I'd rather spend that tax increase on funding the budget. And my preference would be to be bold, just like Tommy has said, and to do it with the tax increase. I think we can make the case. All of you have spoken very eloquently about this is the most valuable resource we have. And if we believe that, we can sell that to the public. We really have a relatively very low tax rate. I can hear the groans around the table, but, and that would be my preference on this.
do we know?
Mr. Riddick?
Yeah, I guess if we had given a signal to the property owners that we would be considering a tax increase, then they would be getting it.
Yeah.
So I don't
So
think
it's a little late, huh?
I don't think you can throw the pitch behind them. But I just have a question, and I'll ask the city attorney this. The money that people are fined and the Commonwealth attorney collects those monies. They're our monies, right?
I can
Whether it's state, maybe I guess you gotta separate the state
I
from it.
think that's what it is. I'll confirm it. If the offense is a DUI or speeding under the city code,
Right,
which we instruct our officers to charge under, and the revenue is ours. And if it's a charge under the state code, then it's the state's revenues. And I'll get that confirmed for you, but that's
Right.
what I think.
and I guess my question is, okay, we have a Commonwealth attorney, and he goes to court and I guess works for the city, and he collects this money. But instead of him collecting the money in his office, he has a third-party collector. Over $2 million a year that we're paying to collect our money. So let's create a department and say, well, listen, we're gonna collect our own money, and let's take that money and put it in the school district. It won't solve the problem today, but going down the road, what it'll do, we know we'll have $1.5 million that some big fancy law firm has now. And we could put it in our school district. Like I said, it won't solve the problem now, but it's something that we need to consider. When we talk about salary increases for teachers, I guess sometimes I look for results. And we haven't gotten the results. And I know our teachers work hard. And I was talking to a couple of my former teachers recently. And although it was several years ago when I was in school, those teachers did not get paid comparable salaries. They didn't get paid a lot of money, but they got a better result. And so I think we need a result-oriented, I guess you say pay. I believe that the teachers, want to do a good job. But I'm also concerned about the bus drivers and the janitors. When we take those bus drivers and we pass those bus drivers on a daily basis, and they have kids, going through our streets, dealing with people on cell phones and texting and all that kind of stuff. We put a lot in their hands. And so if I'm going to look at something, I'm going to see what we can do to help, bus drivers and the individuals on the lower, echelon. I don't have any issues with, the school district and the teachers, but I think if we were going to talk about a tax increase, we should have talked about it, years ago, as opposed to pitching behind the run.
All right, other issues, again, we have, this is a work session, and today is to just put questions out there. Mr. Manager, our next work session, hopefully you'll bring some answers.
I will.
And then the third and final work session, we will reconcile.
I have one other thing I
Yes,
want to
Mr.
talk
Riddick.
about. The wastewater workers. That $4.29. That was taken from, this is the second hit that they've taken. And I guess Kristen Lentz or Tucker might have some history of this. But during the Regina Williams administration, found out that these wastewater workers were actually making more money than some of our people on the 8th and 9th floor. And Regina put in a cut that just actually killed those workers. And then if we have just recently put in another cut, and we hit those workers when they come out for emergencies for $4.29 an hour. You ask a household owner what's worth being able to flush his toilet and everything go through, being able to open his water line and get clear water, or worrying about somebody getting $4.29. We got to stop trying to build our budget on the backs of the lower echelon of our workforce. And so that's one of my concerns.
I just want to make sure that Doug is clear that at the next meeting or whenever, that there are two different opinions about the school system, and we are each have one vote on council, and there are 3 council members who are asking for increased funding for the schools. So when you present that to us, that has the mayor's plan for bonuses, but it also includes money coming out of the public amenities fund, and what that will do. So
Many things. Clear is not one of them, but I will get there.
And that money be used.
Yeah, I mean, we are not restricted from rating any, well, not any fund, but there are some funds that's non-general fund that we are prohibited from shifting. But then there's general fund dollars. But I think back to Terry's point about when the meal tax and the lodging tax was imposed, it was for a specific purpose and a specific use. And, you know, I agree with her in that regard.
How much do we get a year from that?
6 million.
Seven-ish.
Okay.
Greg.
It's gonna
Public
increase.
amenities fund, $7 or $8 million coming in.
You know, I was saying,
Between 7 and 8. So you've got three pieces that I'd encourage, you probably haven't had time to look at them, but one is a pretty good explanation of the premium pay issue. And one of the challenges is we've got to be consistent. And so we've made some changes to enhance that. So we can make changes, we'll need to make them across the board. So that's one. The other is we gave you a pretty good explanation of the Public Amenities Fund and a little more detail than we've given you in the past of some of the history. So that was in the packet. And the other piece was on the funding formulas and sort of what would have happened if we had put a couple of these formulas in place. So we showed you if we had used Chesapeake's or Hamptons or Virginia Beach's, and we just picked 20. If we'd gone back to 2014, what would that have meant? To start giving you some context for, you know, as we work toward that formula perhaps next fall. How we get
And I want to make sure you understand, I wasn't saying permanent public amenities fund use.
Yeah, no,
I'm
you're-
saying the jump started where there's bigger money in the first 2 years, it does go down because of the surprise of the debt capacity that we're going to take on the conference center, which, by the way, that's one of the reasons why I voted against the main, because people don't know that there's more to that. It wasn't just the initial cash. But I want to make sure that you know that. It's just the initial, the jumpstart that while we're continuing the conversations with the school board on where we can end up saving money. One time so that we're not just kicking that can down the road. I also want one other thing, Paul, because you were here in 2003 when that was voted on. That tax is every restaurant and hotel in the city of Norfolk. And this was the first time in the memo that you sent to us that I saw that it was for downtown projects.
I would agree,
I've never seen that before since I've been on council. I've always been told that that was for use for anybody in the city. Now, if that's the perception, then definitely I want to get rid of that tax right now and give it all to the school. I'm just saying, you know, the downtown has seen its share of funding in the city. I don't know, plus they have a special bid at $1.25 or whatever, and they get extra money that they can use for projects and things downtown.
131.
Is it 131? Sorry,
But it's not
131.
for projects.
But it doesn't matter. So I mean.
But I agree, that has never been in fact, I think we've even used public amenity funds for other areas of.
We'll double check that. If I could ask one thing, because we're gonna run out of time. A few of you have talked to me about other things, and they're fairly modest, 10,000 here, 25,000 here. I think we've got a pretty good list of those things, so when we come back next week, I'll make sure that everybody sees all of that stuff. But if you've got something that we didn't talk about tonight, just obviously call me or send me a note and say, hey, I want you to look at whatever this piece is.
All right, I got one announcement. So I want everyone to check their calendar to see if we can have interviews for the city assessor candidates, either May 25th, or would you prefer June 6th at 4 p.m.?
We sent that back.
I'm gone June 6th, in case anybody cares.
I can't do the 25th now because it's the Distinguished Alumni Awards for MPS, and I got it, so I've got to
So
go
you're
to
following-
that. So
following-
yes,
following-
yes.
I thought we had another date, like the 30th and the 31st, that was an option as well.
I thought we were doing it right before.
Everyone was agreeable to May the 25th,
Okay.
Or 2 p.m.
but I think Martin had, it could be after 2 p.m. And now Tommy says.
I can't do the
Can't
25th
do it
now.
on the 25th.
I'm willing to acquiesce, and you guys can interview without me. Seriously, I'm
Well,
more than happy.
She can phone in on that, can't she, under the order?
I
Are you
can
gonna
what?
be somewhere with
Call
their
in.
service
From
there?
Paris?
Are you go- is it
Oh,
gonna
is
be
that where you're
both?
going?
Yeah.
Oh.
Pardon me?
So we'll get some more.
Timetable is up to you.
We'll get
all.
some more dates, because it
Can
looks
we do
like.
a Saturday? Does
So-
it have to be a weekday?
Let me get some more
Okay.
dates.
No, it's not gonna be a Saturday.
So the 30th didn't work? The
Or-
30th?
The 30th is
I
fine.
need money.
I'll get
What
some,
about the 30th?
Traveling folks.
I'll get some dates.
The 30th is
I'll
fine.
get some more dates.
$5.
So let's get upstairs, I'll get some more dates.
Just coming to the front, I don't know that you're gonna get a date where everybody's
That's a
gonna be
holiday.
here.
Open up tonight?
I mean, really.
Would you say we don't have
And
a
on
figure in that?
and on
He's
Saturday.
talking about working you. He's not working us.
Mr. Reddick, Saturday, I'm not
Is there
coming.
anybody that's late that we're
I'm letting you know.
closing the
I was
public hearing?
fine with
Thank you.
Mark and